Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inside Thailand. Today's story comes from a guy named Nico, a flashy expat in Phuket who thought he had it all figured out. Luxury condo, booming business, Thai girlfriend on his arm, and a wife back in Miami. He figured didn't need to know the full picture. But then one day, Tik, his girlfriend, got curious. And what she did next didn't involve yelling, crying, or drama. She just opened Facebook. This story's slick, slow burning, and honestly a little terrifying because it shows what happens when the person you underestimate plays the long game and wins. So here's his story in his own words. Hey man, alright, so let me just say this up front. I'm not some clueless old sap who came out here chasing bar girls and got fleeced. That's not me. I've lived in Thailand for 6 years, mostly in Phuket. I've done well. Property, rentals, condos. I play the game sharp, always have. Back in Miami, I was in real estate too. Flashy suits, fast cars, Cuban coffee, fake smiles. You know the type. My ex-wife, well, technically still wife, is still there. We were separated in every way that mattered. Alright? Emotionally, legally, spiritually, whatever. I told Tik that, eventually. Kind of. Anyway, I had this system. I kept my business clean, I kept my personal life compartmentalised, and I kept Tik happy. She had the condo, the beach views, the pink scooter, her little French bulldog named Money. I'm not joking, that was its name. She'd wear these bright sundresses, always smelled like lemongrass and hair dye, and she made this green curry that could knock your socks off. She even made me eat rice for breakfast, which I swore I'd never do. And yeah, maybe I was juggling things. Okay, definitely juggling. But I thought I had it handled, like I'm the guy who sells to the guys who get scammed. You know what I mean? I am in the know. I live above it. There was this one night, rooftop bar in Patong, jazz music, sunset bleeding over the bay, Tik sipping something purple with a flower in it. I've got my whiskey on ice, and I'm just sitting there thinking, damn, I've cracked it. I've really done it. This setup is perfect. Wife back home doesn't bother me. Tik thinks I'm her knight in a linen shirt. Nobody's crying, nobody's stealing, nobody's suspicious. That was 3 weeks before the message, before she found my wife on Facebook. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up a bit to how I met Tik in the first place. So yeah, Tik. She wasn't one of those girls hanging around Bangla Road with the sequined shorts and fake eyelashes out to here. Nah, she was different. Or at least she looked different. I met her at an open house I was hosting. Mid-range condo near Carter, ocean view, western kitchen, blah, blah, blah. She shows up in these ripped jeans and a Guns N' Roses tee, real casual, like she just wandered in on the way to 7-Eleven. Didn't ask about square footage, didn't care about the amenities. First thing she says is, "You always wear sunglasses inside, or just when you want to look important?" I laughed. Like an actual laugh. That hasn't happened at a showing in years. Normally it's old Germans asking about HOA fees. She wasn't a buyer, obviously. No job, no car. Lived with her sister at the time, but she had this spark, you know? Dry wit. Didn't take any of my crap. She called me Nico-san for weeks, like I was in some manga. Used to mock my Italian hand gestures. I ate it up. 2 weeks later, she's riding on the back of my bike, her chin on my shoulder, arms around me like we were in some rom-com montage. She'd hum little Thai songs while we drove along the coast. Always smelled like that mint balm they sell at the night market. Left her hair all over my shower drain. I let her move in way too fast, if I'm being honest. But I told myself it made sense. I was working too much. She could cook. Keep the place from looking like a bachelor cave. You know how it goes. The house starts to smell like jasmine rice and coconut milk instead of takeout and deodorant. It was nice. And she was smart too. Way smarter than I gave her credit for. She didn't just sit around watching Lake Orns. She'd sit beside me while I went through listings and ask real questions. How much does that one rent for? Why do Farangs pay so much for tiny balcony? She wasn't just there for the ride. She was watching me, studying. And that, my friend, that's what I missed. A few months in, the questions started changing. But I'll get to that. First, let me tell you how I thought I was keeping things under control. Alright, so here's the thing. I had rules. I don't mean like laminated in a drawer kind of rules. I mean mental frameworks, systems. Like in real estate, keep your foundation solid, don't overextend, and never let emotions ruin a good deal. I applied the same logic to my personal life. You think that sounds cold? Maybe. But it works. Or it used to. Rule 1. Don't overshare. Thai girls don't need your whole life story. You start talking about your ex-wife, your kids, your colonoscopy. Forget it. Keep it light. Keep it mysterious. Rule 2. Keep your devices clean. I had 2 phones, one for work and Thailand, the other for US calls and, well, Maria, my wife, the technical one. We hadn't lived together in years. She had her life, I had mine. I still wired her money, still called on birthdays, but emotionally, nada, dead air. I told myself it was just logistics at this point. Rule 3. Never underestimate a woman who isn't asking questions. If she's quiet, she's thinking. If she's thinking, you're already behind. Tick. She played it cool, real cool. For the first 6 months, she didn't poke, didn't snoop, just smiled, made dinner, lit incense in the bathroom, curled up next to me while I worked on listings. But sometimes she'd say these little things, quiet, like an afterthought. Why you always close your phone so fast? Why your Facebook has no pictures of family? You say your wife is ex, but you never say divorce. And I'd just grin and deflect. Babe, I told you. Maria and I are like business partners now. She'd nod, smile, stir her soup. I thought I was in control. I mean, I was the one managing everything, right? And for a while, I really believed that. Until one stupid afternoon, when Tick borrowed my phone to order grab food. And that's when Miami slipped in. It was just a normal afternoon. Raining hard, those heavy Phuket sheets that make the whole sky look bruised. We were both hungover from some rooftop party the night before. She was curled up in my hoodie, scrolling through food, complaining about how Grab never delivered the crispy pork crispy. My phone buzzed on the table. I was half asleep on the couch, not paying attention. Bank alert. Transfer to Maria Russo, $1,200. She didn't say anything right then. I didn't even know she saw it. But something shifted. Later that night, she was quieter than usual. Not cold, just measured. Like someone doing mental math during a card game. We were lying in bed and she suddenly asked softly, like a casual thing, "You still send money to your ex-wife?" I froze, not panicked, just surprised. I played dumb. "What are you talking about?" "Maria, that's her, right?" Her voice didn't have any heat, no anger, just calculation. I shrugged it off, said something like, "It's just some shared accounts. We've got old property stuff back in the States. Nothing dramatic." She nodded, didn't press it, rolled over and went to sleep. But I should have known right then. That was the moment the tides turned. Because Tick wasn't like the others. She didn't explode. She didn't sulk. She didn't try to trap me with crocodile tears. She just started researching. And I, being the arrogant idiot I am, thought the lack of yelling meant I dodged it. She played it so smooth. I thought everything was fine until the next week, when she sat across from me at breakfast and said, "I sent your wife a message." I told her, "I'm your girlfriend," just like that. Over eggs and jasmine tea, like she was giving me the weather. And I laughed. I actually laughed. Because I thought she was bluffing, but she wasn't. And that, my friend, that was the moment everything flipped. I stared at her across the table, my fork still in midair. I remember the eggs were going cold and she was sipping tea like we were just talking about grocery lists. "You what?" I said, half laughing, trying to keep the tone light. Tick didn't flinch. "I sent your wife a message. On Facebook. Yesterday." She didn't say it to hurt me. There was no spite in her tone. That's what made it worse. She wasn't trying to start a fight. She was just calmly updating me on what she'd done, like it was a reasonable next step. Like, of course, she'd messaged the woman whose name kept popping up in bank transfers and email receipts. I set the fork down. My mouth was dry all of a sudden. "You don't even use Facebook?" She shrugged. "I have account. I just don't post." Then she tilted her head, smiling a little. "Maria is pretty." "You didn't tell me she looks like movie actress." I couldn't read if that was jealousy, sarcasm, or a jab. Maybe all three. Tick had this way of making compliments sound like accusations. I tried to hold the line, told her she was overstepping, that Maria and I were history, that none of this was her business. The usual dance. She just looked at me, calm as ever. "You live with me. Sleep in my bed. I cook for you. That is business." I wanted to yell. I wanted to call her crazy, but I didn't, because deep down I knew she had me. Not legally, not financially, just positionally. She had information. She had nerve. And now she had direct contact with the one person I never thought she'd reach. That whole day I couldn't focus. I faked a few client calls, refreshed my inbox every 5 minutes waiting for the explosion. Nothing came. Maria didn't message, didn't call. Radio silence. I told myself Tick was bluffing. Maybe she sent something vague. Maybe Maria didn't even see it. Maybe it would just blow over like everything else had. But around 8 a.m. the next morning, as I was sipping my coffee and scrolling through my work emails, WhatsApp lit up with a message from a US number I hadn't seen pop up in weeks. It was Maria, and all it said was, "So who's Tick, Nico?" She says you two have been together for over a year. No emoji, no hi, no punctuation, just that. And in that moment, all the systems, all the rules, all the little mental frameworks I'd built over years of managing two lives cracked. I didn't know which fire to put out first, but I already knew which one was going to burn faster. I just stared at the screen. You know that feeling when your ears start ringing, like you're underwater? That's what hit me. Not panic exactly, more like disbelief, like this is actually happening. I tapped out a reply, deleted it, tried again, backspaced the whole thing. I didn't know what to say that didn't make me sound like either a liar or an idiot, because I was both. I called her, straight to voicemail, tried again an hour later. Same thing. Maria had gone dark, which meant one of two things. She was furious, or she was done. And honestly, I didn't know which was worse. Meanwhile, Tick was just going about her day like nothing happened. She watered the plants on the balcony, put on that lavender face mask she always used, didn't say a word about it. I kept waiting for her to gloat, or yell, or demand something, but nothing. She was cool as ice. Too cool. That night I asked her flat out, "What did you say to Maria?" She looked up from her phone. She was playing some Thai version of Candy Crush and said, "Just truth." I told her we live together. I said I love you. That hit me harder than I expected. I don't know why. Maybe because Tick had never used the L word before. Not once in a year of sleeping next to me, cooking my meals, feeding my damn dog when I travelled. She dropped it now in the middle of a mess she started. I told her you not honest with both of us, she added, so I fix. I remember standing there, mouth open, trying to process that sentence. So I fix. Like she was correcting a spreadsheet. Like I was just a bad formula she needed to balance. I started getting angry, tried to argue, but she didn't bite. She just nodded towards the guest room and said, "Maybe you sleep there tonight. Maria probably upset." And that's when I realised something brutal. I wasn't in a relationship anymore. I was in a negotiation, and I'd already lost leverage. She didn't want to fight, she wanted position, and she'd just taken it. I wish I could say I packed a bag and left, that I had some shred of dignity left, but I didn't. I stayed. And Tick, she didn't ask me to grovel. She didn't break down crying. She didn't even change the locks. She just started running things. It wasn't overnight, but it happened fast. She moved a few of her things into the master closet, started using my good towels, changed the Wi-Fi password, told me she'd give it back when I was respect man again. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Then came the new rules, not written down, but clear. First, she kept the condo. Technically, it was still under my company's name, but she started referring to it as her place. "You stay here now, but this my home," she'd say, smiling. Second, she wanted half my Phuket commissions. Not in cash, not even up front, just access. She'd review my deals, ask about escrow, ask why some listings weren't online yet. Started asking if I needed help organising clients. It was her way of saying I'm in now and I'm watching. Third, no more calls to Maria. No attempts to patch things up. You lie to her long time. Now she free. Let her go. That's what she said. Let her go. Like it was mercy. I told her she was out of line. Told her she had no right. She just stared at me while slicing mango and said, "You never told truth." So now I make new truth. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but it chilled me more than if she'd screamed in my face. Every day after that, I felt like I was walking through my own house with a lease signed by someone else. She changed the music, played these moody Thai ballads on repeat, took down the art I'd picked, replaced it with framed photos of sunsets and temples. I used to laugh at stuff like that, those generic tourist pics. Now they were on my walls. I remember one afternoon, sitting on the balcony trying to close a deal over Zoom. I could hear her inside, giggling with her friends in the kitchen. The smell of frying garlic was in the air, her little dog yapping at their heels. It was like I wasn't even there. And the wild part? I still wired money to the US. Maria never responded, never blocked me, just stayed silent, like a ghost in my phone. I thought Tick would eventually get bored of me, that she'd find someone new, cash out and vanish. But she didn't. She stayed. She smiled. She played her music, and she built her little empire right inside mine. You know, I keep circling back to this one conversation I had with Maria, maybe 6 months before all this. It was on a Sunday. She called out of the blue, something about updating our tax returns, but it turned into a real talk. She said, "Nico, I don't even know who you are anymore." I gave her the usual lines. "Come on, Maria. We've been through this. You've got your life. I've got mine. We're good like this, aren't we?" But she didn't buy it. She never did. She had this sharpness to her, like she could see straight through the performance. She said, "You treat people like they're part of your business portfolio. Everyone's an asset or a liability, even me. I remember that hit hard, but I didn't let her hear it. I deflected. Said something about how we just weren't compatible anymore, that I was happier where I was. She asked me, flat out, if there was someone else. I paused. Too long. She didn't yell. She just sighed. Said, if there is, fine. But don't lie to both of us. You can't run dual lives forever. They catch up. I laughed it off. Told her she was being dramatic. Said I was just focused on work. That was my go-to excuse for everything. Work. If I wasn't cheating, I was working. If I wasn't hiding, I was managing. She said one last thing before hanging up. You can't love anyone, Nico. Not really. Not until you stop seeing everything like a deal to close. I didn't reply. Didn't know how. That was the last honest conversation we had. The rest was just bank transfers and tax forms. And now, every time I sit in this condo, watching Tick live her version of our life, I hear Maria's voice in the back of my head. Not angry, not sad, just tired. She was right. I did treat everyone like a deal, but I never saw the fine print on this one. So here's where we are now, or I guess I should say where I am. Sitting in what used to be my living room, but now it's been redecorated in pastel cushions and Buddhist prayer beads. There's a little shrine on the TV stand now with a gold cat that waves its paw, incense sticks, and some dried flower garlands that get swapped out every week. I don't touch it. I don't ask. Tick's got her friends over more often. Sometimes they bring wine coolers and sit on the floor watching Thai dramas, laughing so loud the dog gets overstimulated and pees on the rug. Nobody seems to mind, least of all her. Me? I sit on the balcony most nights, same spot I used to brag from, phone in one hand, whiskey in the other, headset on, closing deals, while the sunset did all the work in the background. Now I'm mostly silent. I scroll through old messages. Sometimes I type one out to Maria. Sometimes I delete it before I send. Tick still talks to me, still cooks, still lays out my towel when I shower. But there's no us. Not in any real way. It's a performance now, and I'm just the set piece. The other night she came out on the balcony while I was finishing a beer. She stood behind me, rested her hands on my shoulders, gently, like nothing ever happened, and said, "Smile more, Nico." You still lucky. I didn't argue, I didn't say a word. I just smiled, like she asked, because deep down, I knew the truth. She wasn't rubbing it in. She didn't need to. The point had already been made. I was still here, still paying, still playing my part, and she was the one writing the script. You want to know the real kicker? I used to joke about guys like me. Used to sit at bar counters and listen to these wrinkled expats whine about their Thai girlfriends, how they got played, how she ran off with the bike, the condo, half the bank account. And I'd roll my eyes, sip my bourbon, and say something smug like, well, that's what happens when you fall for the first girl who smiles at you, buddy. I thought I was different. Hell, I was different. Just not in the way I wanted to be. I didn't get scammed. I didn't get robbed. I didn't wake up with an empty bank account and a handwritten note on the fridge. No, Tick stayed. She stayed and she learned. She absorbed everything. She figured out how I worked, what I valued, what I feared. She didn't need to scream or cheat or take anything by force. She just watched and waited. And I, like the arrogant prick I was, mistook her silence for submission. I thought I had the upper hand because I paid the bills, because the deed was in my company's name, because I had the clients, the cash, the condo. But when it all shook out, none of that mattered. She had the real leverage, information, patience, and timing. She didn't expose me. She unravelled me. piece by piece. And the worst part? I still kind of admire it. It was clean. No drama, no mess, just strategy. I used to think I was a player, thought I could manage 2 women, 2 lives, and never drop the ball. Turns out I wasn't even playing the right game. People always expect a big blow up in stories like this, a slap across the face, screaming in 2 languages, cops at the door, somebody running off with a safe full of cash and a bottle of cheap whiskey. That's not what happened here. There was no scene, no betrayal in the classic sense, just a shift, like a tide coming in so slowly you don't notice until your feet are wet and the sand's been pulled out from under you. Tick didn't break my heart. She didn't destroy me. She reorganised me. She reshuffled the pieces of my life and gave me back something that looked the same on the outside. Same condo, same routine, same sunny mornings. But now she held the blueprint, and I was just a fixture inside it. And Maria? She never responded again. No follow-up, no dramatic phone call, not even a passive-aggressive email about taxes or joint accounts. Just silence. The kind that makes you realise she's not mad anymore. She's just done. That's the sound of the door closing for good. I started to dream about her sometimes. Not in a romantic way. More like dreams where she walks past me in a crowd and doesn't look back. Those are the ones that mess me up the most. And Tick, she still smiles at me in the mornings, makes my coffee just how I like it, fluffs my pillow at night. But it's not kindness. It's power. Quiet, consistent, unshakable. She didn't scam me. She didn't steal from me. She just won, and I let her. Sometimes I think back to how stupid I was. I used to say Thai women didn't care about Facebook, that they didn't use it, didn't snoop, didn't go digging the way Western women do. That was one of my rules, remember? Keep your socials clean. Keep your real life separate. I thought I was so clever. 2 phones, different browsers, different versions of myself depending on the time zone. But Tick didn't need spyware or drama or tears. She just needed a moment of curiosity and a stable internet connection. That's it. That's all it took. One message, no screaming, no breakdowns. She clicked. She typed. She watched it all tumble down. Now I sit here on this balcony, same one I used to call my office view, watching her hang laundry in a neon green tank top, singing along to some old Thai pop song I still don't understand. She looks peaceful, in control, and me, I'm just background noise now. Still here, still smiling, still pretending this setup is working for me. But it's not. She found my wife on Facebook, and she didn't leave me. That's what really hurts. Because when someone chooses to stay, but stay on their terms, you're not the man of the house anymore. You're just a tenant, and brother, your rent is due. And there you have it, Nico's story. No bar girl scam, no vanishing act in the middle of the night, no sob story about losing millions, just a man who thought he could juggle 2 lives and got quietly outplayed. He wasn't robbed, he wasn't tricked, he was studied, watched closely by a woman who never yelled, never ran, and never forgot. And the moment she found his wife on Facebook, she didn't blow up his world. She rearranged it. Nico still lives in that same condo, still sells property, still answers Tick when she calls his name from the kitchen. But deep down, he knows something he didn't before. This game wasn't about money. It was about control. And Tick? She's the one holding the keys. If you've ever thought you were the one in charge, maybe it's time to look a little closer. Let us know in the comments what you'd do if you were in Nico's shoes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. We've got more stories just like this one every week, right here on Inside Thailand. See you in the next one.